as some of you know, I put a story out on my Instagram about who you wanted to see me train as for a week. And you guys picked TheRock. So, here we are. This is day one of me training myself as TheRock. And today we have legs. Now, before we get into the video, 94% of you aren't subscribed. So, subscribe down below. Now, here we are. We're going to start off the day and we have 30 to 50 minutes running on the treadmill. Now this man is an actual beast and this seriously killed me before I even started the training. As we can see here, I got 32 minutes and 11 seconds. Now moving on, we've got some barbell walking lunges and well, the gym wasn't big enough, so I moved on to using dumbbells instead. But I still did exactly the same thing, just had the same weight, but instead of having a barbell, I had 2 dumbbells in either arm. Now we're on to some leg presses here. I've got 100 kilograms on the machine, and my legs are totally screwed. Like, those lunges completely took it out of me. But I'm going to keep going. If I want to be a beast like TheRock, I'm going to have to train like TheRock, aren't I? Now moving on, we've got some leg extensions. Now, you can see from my face just there that my legs are knackered. I was still taking 2 to 3 minute rests between my sets, but it was just so much on the legs. We're now moving on to some barbell squats. So I use the Smithy machine for this. Just my knees were aching after doing so many different things, and I just thought I'd have a bit of extra support. We're now moving on to the hack squats. Now, the gym I go to doesn't actually have a hack squat machine itself. So as an alternative, I use the Smithy machine again. And instead of having my feet obviously underneath me, I put my feet ahead of me, causing that sort of hack squat and keeping it so it was in my quadriceps. We now had some single leg hack squats. Now, I had to take the weight off for this because my knees were hurting, but additionally, it was just so difficult with the weight on, getting back up and down. I wanted to make sure I was getting good reps, good sets, and keeping it all clean instead of not having the correct posture and just being off balance. Alrighty then, now we're moving on to some Romanian deadlifts. And I had the weight quite low, but I was just getting that posture right. And I felt good doing this. I was making sure I was targeting those hamstrings, quadriceps. Now moving on to seated leg curls. Now the seated leg curl machine wasn't there, so instead I had an alternative and I did it standing up. So we did some standing up leg curls. Now finally, to finish off day one, we have thigh abductors. Now I used the largest resistance band I could find and I moved side to side in a squat position, making sure my thighs were contracting every time I moved. Now here we have day 2, it's back today, and here we have me starting off the day with 30 to 50 minutes of being on the treadmill, and as you can see here, I'm living my life. Now as we can see here, I got a total of 43 minutes, it was better than yesterday. Now, after completing that, we've got wide grip lat pull downs. So there's me with a big ass weight on the end of that, completing the 12 reps for I think it was the second set. Yeah, this was the second set. Now we're moving on to bent over barbell rows. Now, I miscalculated on this, hence why the 2 different clips, because I did 8 and then realised I needed to do 4 more. So, yeah, I did that. Now we're on to one-arm dumbbell rows. Now, this wasn't too bad. I got myself over a bench, made myself leaned over, made sure I was contracting that muscle. I could definitely feel it in my shoulders now, my back. We're now moving on to barbell deadlifts. Now, my back was just totally messed up at this point. The 4 sets is just, it's too much, but, you know, we're training like TheRock. So as we can see, halfway through this, I do collapse after lifting. I think it was the 8th rep. I had to take a breather. I had to take a good 30 seconds to get back in there. This was the final set, to be fair to me. We're now moving on to pull-ups until failure. Now, I recorded the first set, and then this is my second attempt, or my second set, which was an attempt, but I couldn't get up any more than 4, so I moved on to the assisted pull-up machine. Now, this helped a lot more, still could feel it definitely, and as you can see, I'm struggling a little bit. Now, we're on to the dumbbell shrugs. I've got 40 kilogram dumbbells, so it's 80 in total, 40 in each arm. Now, we're now moving on to inverted rows. Now, this wasn't too bad. It was until failure, so I was pushing myself. I took a few breathers and carried on, but I was making it until I could literally not pull myself up anymore, and then I'll take another 2-3 minute rest and then start over again. Now, we're finally moving on to some hyperextensions for the back. Now, this wasn't too bad. This was my second set in. I was contemplating whether to take a weight or not, but I thought I'd just keep it body weight for now, keep it simple, make sure I was getting that contraction in the latissimus dorsi. And as you can see here, I am knackered. And that's the end of day 2. Now, as we come into day 3, we have shoulders, but the problem is I didn't record myself on the treadmill today. So you have me doing a TikTok in the background. Now, we move on and we've got some dumbbell shoulder presses, and I'm doing 12 reps of 4 sets. This is my 3rd sit in. I've got a recording of this. Now, after our dumbbell shoulder presses, we have some standing military presses. Now, I've got 15 kilograms on each side, a 20 kilogram bar, making it a total of 50 kilograms. I put obviously a bit of my knee power into it and boosted myself upwards, but made sure it was quite strict and kept it in the shoulders. We're now moving on to some dumbbell front raises. Now, these weren't too bad. I had 12.5 kilograms on each arm. I was just keeping it steady, a slow pace, and I was just making sure I was getting that height in the arms. Now, being the lucky guy I am, today on the way to the gym, I noticed there was a spillage coming through my bag, and I had spilt my protein shake. So, what we see here is me doing side lateral raises after having pretty much no rest between my sets, as I just really wanted to get out of that gym and clean up my bag because everything there was completely messed up. I had to get it all washed. Coming up next, we have some reverse machine flies. Now, This wasn't too bad. I lowered the weight because my muscles were really at fatigue at this point, but I kept it going. I was making sure I was getting that hypertrophy at the end of the day, and it wasn't too bad. Now coming up to the last exercises of the day, we're on set 3 here, and we're on seated bent over delt raises. Now this was a lot more difficult than I thought, but definitely the fatigue was setting in. So I dropped the weight a bit. So you can see the weights behind me, which I originally tried using for the first 2 sets. I just had to lower them, but at the end of the day, I got there, I trained, I finished the day off, I got back, and it wasn't a bad day. It's now hitting day 4, and we're doing arms and abs today. And here we see me back on the treadmill, doing 30 to 50 minutes. And you know, I'm loving life once again. We're now moving on to some dumbbell bicep curls, and I had 15 kilogram weights here. It wasn't too bad. I feel like I definitely pushed myself more than I usually would have.
Your skin soft as ice cream. Yeah, you melt under my touch. And with your kiss strong as lightning, you got me falling right.
We're now going on to some hammer curls. Now I dropped the weight just a little bit to 12.5 kilograms. I was making sure I was getting a good contraction in the bicep, and it went pretty well. This was my 3rd set out of the 4. We're now going on to spider curls. These were till failure, and these were new to me. I'd not seen these before, so I did actually have to have a quick Google. These were good. I'm definitely going to add these to my actual routine.
I want to remember you, then I'll feel it again.
We're now moving on to some tricep pushdowns. Now, these were quite good. I had a few sets of this, alternated with the weights, just to make sure I got a good contraction in the tricep, really.
You got the glow of the sunset. You got the rush of the ocean wave.
We've now got some overhead triceps. Now, this was a 30 kilogram dumbbell. It was quite good. I alternated to get a bit more for the later sets. I upped the weight a little bit, and then for the last set I did drop it down, get that hypertrophy, and made sure I had to make those 15 reps. We now have some hanging leg raises. So I additionally actually started with doing some L hangs, but with the stairs behind me it was a bit awkward, so I kept my feet in close, put my knees up to my chest, and I did it from there. It was quite good. I got good contraction in the upper abs, and I actually really felt it. Now, after the hanging leg raises, we had some rope crunches. Now, I've seen people actually do these, but I never actually knew the name, so this was a new one. But I was getting a good contraction in the abdominals, and I was keeping it quite tight, so I was quite happy with it. So I'm going to add this to my regular routine. We're now on to the last exercise of day 4. We've got Russian twists. This was the second set in. I upped the weight just a little bit on the last 2 sets, but they weren't as clean, so I used this video clip. We're now moving on to day 5, and Mr. Rock likes to do legs again. So we're back on the treadmill. Now running for a good 35 minutes on the treadmill, we move on to barbell walking lunges. Now we learned from our mistakes on the first day, so we could go straight into the dumbbells and we walk down the corridor. Now we're on to the leg presses, and I've got about 125 kilograms on the rack. Looking at the video back, I should have pushed the chair a bit more forward, but it's the past now. This is where I say. We now have some juicy leg extensions, and these weren't that bad. My knees had been feeling better over the few days after stretching them out a bit. We're now moving on to barbell squats again. Now, I kept the weights low for the first 2 sets and moved up just a little bit, but I made sure I got quite a deep squat when actually comparing this exercise, and I wasn't really going for weight, I was going for hypertrophy. We now have some hack squats. Now, this I felt more comfortable doing after having a bit of practice the first day of doing legs. So I felt quite comfortable doing this now. Now we're back on single leg hack squats. I took both the weights off for this because I really didn't want to push myself to a point where I wasn't completing the rep properly and I wasn't getting a deep enough squat. And you can seriously just see the pain on my face when dropping down. It's something different, it's something new, and I would definitely recommend for people adding it into their leg routines. Okay, now quickly, I just want to apologise. I forgot to record myself doing Romanian deadlifts, so yeah, they're not going to be in the video. We're now moving on to some seated leg curls. Now, obviously I said before we didn't have this machine, so I found the laying down leg curl machine, which was pretty much the same thing, instead it just works your hamstrings as well. We're now moving on to the last exercise of day 5. And we've got thigh abductors. Now I grabbed the resistance band once again and I was squatting around the gym like there was no tomorrow. I do feel like though, if I am to do this again, I'm going to increase the resistance bands around my legs, because I feel like after a few sets and so many reps, it really doesn't do much. It is now day 6 and everyone knows the process now. We're on the treadmill, 30 to 50 minutes. I think I completed about 40 to 42 minutes today's session. Now after this, we go straight onto the barbell bench press. We've got a medium grip. I had 35 pounds on either side, and I was just really going for keeping that movement strict and making sure all my elbows were locking out when reaching back at the top. We now go on to some incline dumbbell presses. Now again, I've got 15 or 17.5 kilogram dumbbells. I'm not too sure, can't remember from the top of my head. But either way, I was keeping the movement straight, making sure I was getting a good full range of motion. We're now moving on to some dumbbell bench presses. Now I'll grab some heavier weights for this because I'm not on an incline. And I felt quite comfortable with doing this. As you can tell, chest is probably going to be one of my favourite days. We're now moving on to some flat bench cable flies. Now, I had to sort of change it up and I used dumbbells instead, but I still made sure I was keeping a full range of motion and making sure that chest really opened up when putting out my arms. We now move on to some incline hammer curls. Now, I didn't realise how much this put a strain on your chest, so I'm definitely going to be adding this to further workouts. It was very good. I actually really like this one.
You want an honest man, but you don't understand. I won't be here when you wake up again. You want an honest man, but you don't understand. I won't be here when.
We're now moving on to some dips, the chest version, and it's still failure. So I'm on the assisted dip machine here. For the first set I actually did, I actually just didn't use any assistance, but I really didn't get that many reps, so I wanted to make sure I got that hypertrophy, and I used the assisted machine just to complete that. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it's day 7, and like TheRock says right here, it's a rest day. It says it has, you know, ice cream sandwiches, but I don't think I'm going to have them. Have got a film in the background though, so after this I'm going to jump back into bed and I'm going to watch that. Now, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. It took me a long time to make, so I'd really appreciate it if you could like, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below if you want me to work out for a week next, or maybe do their diet, something like that. But seriously, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll speak to you in another video. Bye!